Well, buen Camino there, pilgrims. I am Jeremiah Gibbs, and I'm your Camino guide. Today, I'm going to talk about the number one thing that I think keeps pilgrims from actually making their Camino, the thing that keeps them from going ahead and proceeding with the Camino that they've dreamed about. I want to talk to you about how we can help you to be able to break through that barrier so that you can make Camino, maybe even make Camino this year, that Camino you've been dreaming about for so long. So stay tuned. Before I do any of that, I just want to tell you real quickly, I just got off of a phone call just a few moments ago with some other Camino YouTube educators, some other folks who are doing the same kind of videos that I do. We are ready to make some collaborative videos. I'm so excited for you to be able to see all of us interacting together, sharing wisdom with each other, sharing just our personalities, because I think the thing that was so wonderful about being on the call with these wonderful folks was it felt like we were just right there on Camino, because we knew that these are people who get it. These are people who understand what this pilgrimage is about. Definitely click the subscribe button. Click the like button. That's going to be able to help you to get back here so that you can see these great collaborations with these other YouTube trainers, educators, and I'm super excited to be able to share them with you. In just the next few weeks, we're going to start seeing those videos roll out, and we're really excited about being able to share that with you. So today's video, I'm going to talk about what I think is the number one thing that is keeping folks from actually making their pilgrimage, from sort of making the final step, the thing that they've been dreaming about. Now, I think for some of you, and this may be sort of the number two, I think this is probably for fewer, but it certainly is a challenge. One of the challenges, obviously, especially if you really want to make Camino Frances, the whole thing, or if you want to make one of the longer routes, obviously, as Americans, it's really hard for us to get that much vacation time off to be able to go and to take this extended period. There are certain professions, obviously, who have that kind of built into their schedule. Maybe it's a little more possible if you're in one of those professions. But for many of us, it's pretty hard to be able to get this big chunk of time off. And the biggest thing that I can say for those of you that are challenged by that is just go. Whether that means picking a route that's shorter, or whether that means breaking it up into sections and going multiple times. I promise you, if you will go once, then you're going to want to go again. And so, go ahead and just take the time that you have and be able to make as much of the pilgrimage as you can. One of the things that I've even talking with these other YouTube educators, we're all talking about, well, I had 2 weeks, and so I went and I did this, and I've got 8 days, and so I went and I did this. So part of what has made us really able to make the Camino many times is no matter how much time we have, we just go and make as much Camino out of that as we can. So the first thing, if you're just pressed for time, then let's just plan a route that's going to be appropriate for you and make the way. But I think the thing that's holding most pilgrims back, and here I'm thinking especially about American pilgrims, because for those of us who are Americans, going and traveling to Europe, riding on trains, many of Americans have never been on a train or not been on a train often, riding through the bus system in Spain, and doing all of that frequently in a language that we don't know, or at least don't know well, and the challenge of what it means to be able to navigate another country like this, for many of us, that is somewhat paralyzing. It's paralyzing because we don't want to have to spend the time, or maybe we're afraid to spend the time to figure out how the train schedules work and these kinds of things. So that then ends up paralyzing people from really actually making the Camino. And I think that probably there are 3 points at which people really get kind of stuck with the Camino and being able to plan their Camino and actually taking the leap and taking the step and going and doing it. I think the first thing is deciding where you're going to start. For many people is quite challenging because there's so many different routes, there's so many different places you can start. Some are easier or harder to get in and out of. So for so many people, it's hard to decide, where am I actually going to start my Camino? And then the second thing is, once I've decided where I'm going to start, how am I actually going to get there? I know I'm going to take a plane to probably Madrid or to Paris, maybe to Santiago. I know I'm going to take a plane to that airport, and I know how to buy plane tickets. Most of us know how to do that. But what do I do once I walk out of the Madrid airport? How am I going to get from there to Leon, to a starting point, or Astorga, or to Ponferrada? How am I going to be able to go and to get to Pamplona from that Madrid airport? These are challenges, especially if you, for example, are wanting to go to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. Saint-Jean is not an easy place to get to from any airport, and there's multiple forms of transportation to be able to get there. And so for all of those routes, for all of those challenges, each of them have the possibility of just scaring us out of, paralyzing us to follow through with making the route. And then I think the third thing that folks get paralyzed about is how to sort of navigate the albergue stays and reservations and being able to do all of that in Spanish if you don't know Spanish well. And so the idea of sort of like being able to get going with all of that seems very intimidating. Now, what I can tell you, and what many past pilgrims will tell you, is that once you're there, it's actually quite easy to worry about your accommodations, to get accommodations made, all that kind of thing, to be able to go and to eat. All those things, the sort of daily, everyday thing is actually quite simple. But for those of us, especially Americans, who are traveling across the ocean, not familiar with how Europe sort of works with the language differences and so on, that can be pretty intimidating. So I think that I can help you solve your challenge, that barrier that you have to be able to actually go and to plan and to make your pilgrimage. I think that I can help you to overcome that by a service that I'm going to be launching today, which I'm calling my Camino launch service. Camino launch service, like a rocket taking off. The launch service is not going to be a full guided tour the way that you might be able to get from one of the touring companies and so on. Certainly you can go and do those. They are somewhat expensive. And the downside, besides the cost of using a full touring company, is you lose some of your freedom. You lose the ability to stop where you want to be able to go as far or as short as you want to on any given day. If you get injured, be able to make that up. That becomes a challenge when you are purchasing a package tour. So one of the things that many pilgrims love is the freedom, the ability to do whatever they want along the way. But of course, that means that you have to know how to be able to make those decisions. So what I'm going to be doing with the Camino launch service is I'm going to be taking care of those three most challenging aspects of your Camino planning, so that you can just get along with the easier parts of Camino planning and coordination yourself. So the first thing that Camino Launch Service will do is we'll have an initial consultation. Usually that'll be either via Zoom, or sometimes we could just solve that via email, to be able to decide what is the location where you're going to start your Camino. What's appropriate for the time and distance that you want to put in to be able to get started. And so you'll give me your information about what you hope to be able to achieve on Camino, and I'll be able to suggest a starting place that will work for your Camino. The second thing that we're going to be able to do through this Camino launch service is I'm going to go ahead and purchase your train tickets, bus tickets, any kind of travel that you need to get from the airport where you arrive to the destination where you will start. I'm going to make that plan out for you. It'll be step-by-step instructions, written instructions for the parts that are not just a ticket. You'll make sure that we purchase those tickets to be able to go on buses and trains and so on. And make sure that then when you end your Camino and you arrive in Santiago, I will help to make the reservations, to buy the tickets for you to get back to your airport. Whether that means, usually that's going to be a train, although it could be a flight as well, of course. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is to be able to launch you into your Camino is I'll make the first 3 nights of albergue reservations. So I will reserve 3 nights in private albergues that take reservations, so that you can just get into the rhythm and understanding of how the albergues work. Once you've been in 3 nights worth of the reservations that I made for you and albergues that I know to be high quality and fair, once you've done that 3 times, you're not going to have any problem making the reservations and be able to make the way for your rest of your pilgrimage. But that will get you started so that we can take out some of the anxiety and fear about that initial planning stage. Oh, there's one more thing that I forgot about that's a part of that Camino launch service, and that is at any point in that process, I will also make available to you a Zoom sort of Q&A time, a kind of personal consulting where you can ask questions about gear, logistics, any of the things that you have questions about that have not been covered in videos or that you just are unsure about when you are making your plan. Then we'll have, as part of the Camino launch service, I'll have a Zoom phone call with you to be able to answer any questions that you may have as well. So that is the Camino launch service. That is available as of today. You can find out more information by going to CaminoGuide.info. CaminoGuide.info is a brand new website that I'm started for this channel. It's got the YouTube videos, it's got some information about me, and it's got information about the Camino launch service and my Instagram and so on. So that new website, I've frequently told you all to go to jeremiahgibbs.com. Of course, will stay up as a website, but now I have a CaminoGuide.info dedicated site that will be a great place for you to learn about the launch service, submit your name so that you can begin to make progress in getting your Camino planned, and that we can help you to be able to get your Camino launched properly. So I'm not going to tell pricing in this video because I know that pricing for the launch service may change and this video may outlive that pricing. So I just want you to go to CaminoGuide.info, and the pricing for the launch service is going to be on the website, and you can find it there. Right now, if you're saying, well, Jeremiah, I think I can handle what you're describing all by myself, then I'm going to say, absolutely, yes, you can. In fact, I have videos to help you be able to do that. So click the video here on the end screen. That video is going to take you to my description of how you make those reservations for train and buses. That's going to be a great starting point for making your plan.